Shalom, shalom, shalom. Right, we're picking right back up from where we left off, right? Which was Jeremiah 38 and 27. We really finished that, but we can slowly transition to the next part, right? Which is the last account and the mighty account, and it's very, very deep because you have to use wisdom in this world. You have to be wise as a serpent in this world, I would say. Because of course, keeping the commandments is moving to wisdom, but to another degree, you have to be wise as a serpent, right? In other words, you have to finesse through the spirit. I'm gonna keep it real. You gotta finesse, right? Not in wickedness. I don't mean be a scammer and be, just prank call people. You have to finesse in righteousness to secure a lot. You know, we're gonna read an account in Luke the 16th chapter. This is Luke chapter 16, verse 1. All right, let's dive into it. So I can. And he said also unto the disciples, there was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. I have the definition already. This is what a steward is, for those that may be wondering. A steward is from the Blue Letter Bible dictionary. Steward, it's like the Blue Letter Bible app. It has a website as well. But a steward, a manager, superintendent, whether freeborn or was usually the case, right? A free man or slave, to whom the head of the house or a proprietor has entrusted the management of his affairs. If you want to go as far as to say Joseph was a steward, there's nothing wrong with that. He was a steward of Pharaoh. You understand? So let's continue. The care of receipts and expenditures and the duty of dealings of the proper portion to every servant and even to the children not yet of age. In other words, he's the manager of a farm or landed estate, an overseer, right? A fiscal agent. So fiscal goes back to money and taxes. So he was a fiscal agent. And he called him and said unto him, and again, you don't become a steward overnight. You kind of have to earn to be a steward because that's a heavy position to be over somebody's, expenditures and over certain affairs. That's a heavy duty. So this steward, he kind of worked himself up. It's like he worked his way up, but he got slothful. So there's many lessons to learn in this parable. So he was slothful. It's like he started righteous and he was doing his thing, and then he got slothful. That's why it says he was accused of wasting his goods. He mismanaged the products or perhaps some type of commodity. He mishandled it. Just know that. He called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of thee? So, it was so bad to the point he was hearing stuff. The word got around. Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward. So he stripped that title away from him. The same way Moses stripped the garments from Aaron. Then the steward said within himself, that's what he said in his mind. Instead of crying, instead of selling drugs, instead of being having a lust demon, he said, what shall I do? My Lord, take away my steward. Take from me the stewardship. I cannot dig to beg. I am ashamed. Right? He said, I can't even beg. I got too much pride for that. I got to do something. I got to make moves. And perhaps you may find yourself in a certain situation where you may lose your job. You can't say, well, I'm a beg. I'll beg. I just need a little bit of money. You should have a certain amount of pride on you, not in wickedness, but in righteousness. Then the steward said within himself, I read that, verse 4, I am resolved what to do. He said, I got an idea. Eureka. Bingo. I'm resolved what to do. That when I am put out of the stewardship, that they may receive me into their houses. Right? He said, I know what to do. The moment I get out, I'm gonna have another spot to rest my head. I'll work my way up. He's making moves. He's making business moves, big moves. So let's see if his plan goes well. So he called every one of his lord's debtors, that's what that word debtor is really debtors, unto him, and said unto the first, how much owest thou unto my lord? So he said, how much do you owe unto my lord, right? Because again, he's a steward, right? In other words, he's a liaison. And a liaison officer is an employee who builds and maintains mutually beneficial relationship, facilities, communications, and coordinates activities among two people, agencies, or organizations. And that's how he's acting, right? And that's his job. But he kind of blew it, you know? He blew it. And that's what Sirach 29 and 15 is about. Forget not the friendship of thy surety, for he hath given his life for thee, right? Hey, that there's no telling what that Lord did for that one steward. Probably he put a house over his head, food in his belly. He helped this man out, and he got lost. He got caught in the sauce. Too much chip on his dip. He forgot the friendship of the surety, right? Suretyship, right? And we're going to pull up that word. Let's pull that up. This is the definition. A surety is a person or party that takes responsibility of debt, default, or other financial responsibilities of another party, right? Suretyship hath undone many of good estates. That's what happened. It undone his good estate. He had it big, right? He had it big. And sharkened, slacking, shaken them as a wave of the sea. Mighty men hath they driven from their houses. We're reading this account. It drove him from his house, so that they wandered among strange nations. And I, sure enough, he's about to go to another man's house. You know, it's not. Again, he's using wisdom. You know, it's not comely, but nevertheless, he's using wisdom. You know, we'll see what the Lord thinks about this at the end. But I digress. Let's continue. Verse 5. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much owest thou unto my Lord? And said, it's like he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, take thy bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Right? Right? So, we're going to explain what it means as we continue. Then said he to another, how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. So this one person owed 100 measures of wheat. What was his response? And he said unto him, take thy bill and write fourscore, right? Write 80. I know you owe 100, but just make sure that you write down that you paid 80. So you leave the other 20, right, for yourself. And the Lord commended the unjust steward. Wait a minute. Why would the Lord commend him? Because he's using wisdom, right? He's showing himself friendly. He's making sure that he has a spot, right? Because again, he's looking out for these men. He's allowing them to save 20 extra measures of wheat. He's allowing them to save $50 more, or 50 measures of oil. He is using wisdom. And that person may look favorably upon that. Okay, I see he looked out for me this time. I will make him my steward. I will allow him to come into my house. All right. So let's bring that out again. A liaison officer, an employee who builds and maintains beneficial relationships. And don't think he said, okay, write down 50. Write down 50, and that's what you. Hey, he was using wisdom. Hey, man, don't worry about it. Just write down 50, man. I got you, man. Probably did some stuff. Hey, that builds a bond, relationships. That's why the Lord commended him. That's why the Lord commended the unjust steward, because he had done wisely. For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of the light. Now, a lot of commentators, a lot of biblical scholars, they get confounded as to why the Lord would command someone who is unjust. Because again, even the Lord can acknowledge using wisdom to deliver you out of a sticky situation. The Lord can acknowledge that. His parents did it. Remember what happened in Luke the second chapter? When they was taxing the hell out of Israel and it was looking and he fled. He used wisdom. You can always think of, oh, fleeing is wicked and cowardly. You have to flee to use wisdom. That's using wisdom. That's Sirach 9 and 13. Even the mighty man David did it. You know, that's using wisdom. That's being harmless as a dove, right? And wise as a serpent. And of course, we're not the children of the world. We're the children of light. And sometimes, or really a lot of times, the children of this world, they're way wiser than us when it comes to operating in this world. They know tricks, they know loopholes, they know everything, damn near. Right? So let's bring out another precept. Ecclesiastes, it's like Ecclesiasticus 8 and 13. Be not surety above thy power, for if thou be surety, take care to pay for it. Right? And we find out that man didn't do that. Right? So when you find yourself in a sticky situation, use wisdom. You know, so that's the parable of the dishonest steward. I got one video for Israel. A Lord willing it shows.
$300,000 homes. So when a new neighbor moved in without the usual sale, mortgage-paying homeowners had a few questions.
What paperwork is it and how is it legally binding if he doesn't legally own the house? He just squats there.
So this Israelite, this Jake, he was homeless, he was down in his luck. He looked throughout the laws of the land, found a loophole, right, to secure a spot for himself in a $330,000 home. And of course, Esau didn't like that.
Lee Lowry and her husband told me the house down the street was in foreclosure for more than a year. The owner walked away, then the mortgage company went out of business. Apparently, that opened the door for someone to take advantage of the situation. Kenneth Robinson told us he's no squatter. He says he moved in on June 17th after months of research about a Texas law called adverse possession.
How do you think he found out about that? You think it just popped in his head? And he looked into the laws of the land, right? That's what I mentioned earlier in the previous video.
It's not a normal process, but it's not a process that's not known. It's just not known to everybody.
Robinson says this piece of paper gives him rights to the house. It's an online form he printed out and filed at the Denton County Courthouse for $16. It says the house was abandoned and he's claiming ownership.
Hey, he's claiming ownership. He's claiming it. He put out the receipts where he studied. He found the laws and he got the receipts. He's claiming ownership now. Hey, might be Jacob, man.
Went through, looked at it, and added some things here, you know what I mean, for my own protection.
The house is virtually empty, just a few pieces of furniture, no running water or electricity. But Robinson says just by setting up camp in the living room, Texas law gives him exclusive negotiating rights with the original owner.
That's right. Ain't nobody can say a damn thing about it. It's all right, 26. 29 and 22. Help thy neighbor according to thy power, and beware that thou thyself shall not fall into the same. So looking for that precept. The chief thing for life is water, bread, clothing, and a house to cover shame. Better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than a delicate fare in another man's house. Right? So he's in his own house.
Says just by setting up camp in the living room, Texas law gives him exclusive
protection.
The house is virtually empty, just a few pieces of furniture, no running water or electricity.
Now, you know, I say water is the cheap thing of life. I mean, you can buy water, but nevertheless, the point is, he's in a mean cottage. He don't got too much, but it's a mean cottage, enough to cover his shame. Hey, all praises. Good to go.
Robinson says just by setting up camp in the living room, Texas law gives him exclusive negotiating rights with the original owner. If the owner wants him out, he would have to pay off his massive mortgage debt, and the bank would have to file a complicated lawsuit. Robinson believes neither is likely, so if he stays in the house, after 3 years, he can ask the court for the title.
That's your goal eventually, is to have title of this home, to be the owner of this house.
Absolutely.
And
On a record, you know what I mean? At this point, since I possess it, I am.
Robinson posted no trespassing signs after neighbors asked
That's
police
right.
to.
You know what I mean? At this point, since I possess it, I am.
He said, I am the owner. And he's confident through the spirit. He said, I am the owner.
Robinson posted no trespassing signs after neighbors asked police to arrest him for breaking in. But Flower Mound officers say they can't remove him from the property.
Hey, and being confident, that's a key component, a key attribute to being wise as a serpent. You may think of it all, but when push comes to shove, you're facing that situation, you're not confident. Nobody's going to believe you. They'll take advantage of you, you know?
Because home ownership is a civil matter, not criminal. Lowry and her neighbors continue to look for legal ways to get him out.
Because it's like, real quick, if you've seen in the previous video, could you imagine if David said to King Akish in 1 Samuel 27, I went against Judah? No, he said, hey, I went against Judah. You know, he said it with confidence.
Or if he wants the house, buy the house like everyone else had to.
And that's Esau, the devil, man. Buy the house. She's saying that knowing that he can't. She's wicked. I'd have thrown up a curse on her.
Get the money and buy the house.
Robinson says he's not buying anything.
That's
As far
right.
as he's concerned, the $330,000 home is already his, and he has the paperwork to prove it. Casey Norton, Channel 8 News.
That's right. All praises, brother. All praises. You know, you can't get mad at that, brother. Hey, the children of the world are wiser than the children of the light. Brothers in the truth, they probably wouldn't think that deep. You know, you throw up your prayers and your blessings and your fast, and that's mighty and that's beautiful. But again, this account is in here for a reason, to allow you to use wisdom, right? The Lord commended him. So you don't want to be confident in a plain way. Sometimes you got to make moves. This is Sirach 42, verse 8. It's like in verse 7. Deliver all things in number and weight, and put all in writing, that thou givest out or receivest in. And he had it in writing, this is my house. And Esau is mad as hell. I paid $300,000 for this house. Why does he get this for free? Hey, so what? So what? Who cares? Sometimes you gotta finesse. You might have to finesse in your resume. You have to finesse here and there. You gotta use wisdom. Because as long as you're using the righteousness, using that knowledge and righteousness. So, I'm a bit Israel Shalom. Albert writes that Israel's been edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashman Shai. With that, Shalom.